Well, good morning. Last week, I was asked to speak at a student gingerbread housemaking Zoom party. It was a first for me and not the easiest context to speak in, but it was great fun. And I don't know where I've been all these years, but you know what? I have never had, or I think consciously seen, and certainly never made a gingerbread house. And I think I missed out. It was absolutely brilliant. I wonder if this year you're going to make a gingerbread house or whether you're going to buy a gingerbread house. Now, I love ginger. My three siblings were all ginger-haired. And though I've got dark hair before this old beard went white or grey, for many years, over a decade, I had a ginger beard. And ginger is my favourite spice. It's used in both savoury and sweet. And every week I have it in curries and chilies and Chinese. And I'm going to let you into a secret here. I love it with my yoghurt in the morning. Love a bit of ginger. William Shakespeare, in Love's Labour's Lost, wrote this: "Had I but 1 penny in the world, you should have it to buy gingerbread." You should have it to buy gingerbread. Now, gingerbread as a Christmas festive food has been popularised in the West since the 19th century. And it came, like so many of our Christmas traditions, from Germany. But where did gingerbread originate from? And why do we have it, particularly at Christmas? Well, I want to tell you 2 myths, 2 legends that may well have some basis in history. According to the first legend, gingerbread was brought to Europe in 992 by an Armenian monk who was later beatified, made a saint, called Gregory of Nicopolis. And he settled about 50 miles south of Paris and was a mystic and a hermit, and people sought him out for wisdom and spiritual insight. But he was also famous for teaching priests how to make gingerbread. Compared to the tasteless food that people ate, this ginger-spiced bread was absolutely mind-blowing. There, in the West, in the miserable, dank, dark ages, here was something extraordinary. Ordinary bread made extraordinary by ginger. In fact, there's a 10th century manuscript where it's called Heaven's Delights. Gingerbread, Heaven's Delights. And in medieval England, it was called medicinal candy. Brilliant. Where does the idea of gingerbread houses come from, though? Well, there's an 8th century account written which reflects a much older oral tradition. And it says this, get this, that ginger was one of the gifts of the Magi. And one of the Magi fell sick on his journey and didn't make it to the Holy Land, couldn't finish his journey, but had to stay and recover in Syria. And while he was there, he was looked after by a diaspora Jewish rabbi who nursed him well. And the rabbi had a group of his young trainee scholars around him. And one day, this Magi, or this Magus, saw them making houses out of bread. And so the recovering wise man said, "Why are you making these houses out of bread?" And the rabbi said, "It is because the King of the Jews will be born in Bethlehem." And Bethlehem is a Hebrew conjunction of two Hebrew words, Beth, meaning house, and Lechem, meaning bread. Bethlehem means the house of bread. And the rabbi was accustomed to teaching his young disciples, and they would make houses of bread to eat so that they would, as it were, consciously, prophetically, enact a drama that they would eat, and it would be a kind of anticipation and longing that the Messiah was going to come. They shared this with the wise man, and then he got a chest that he'd brought, and in this chest was, when they opened it up, beautiful ginger roots. This was intended to be a gift for the king who was being born. And where was the king born? The star alighted over Bethlehem, the house of bread. The house of bread is where Jesus was born. Bethlehem, the house of bread, is where the bread of life is born. And Jesus, the eternal Son of God who's become flesh, is laid in a manger, an animal feeding trough. And of course, the word manger, like from the French, manger, to eat. And Jesus is born as the bread of life to give us life. All who look to him and who believe in him and who feed on him will live forever. And the ginger, that was a gift of a wise man that was intended for the bread of life, the King of Kings, born in Bethlehem, the house of bread. I love it. Is it true? I don't know, but I love it. What is true is this, that in Bethlehem, the house of bread, the bread of life, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords was born to give us life. Christmas is about the birth of the one who has come to give us life. What are we going to give him? Ginger. Is there any ginger? Is there something precious? Then, millennia ago, it was a uber valuable thing. But what are we going to give him? Do you know what he wants? He gives himself to us. And what he wants is for us to give ourselves to him. Gingerbread houses. If you see one, if you have one, if you enjoy eating one, maybe you should make one. The house symbolizes Bethlehem, the house of bread, where the bread of life is born, and the ginger is what we give in our offering and thanksgiving to the Lord.